What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We have a lot of NASCAR stories that we need to discuss here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. So the first thing we are going to be talking about is Spire Motorsports. In an article that Forbes did, Jeff Dickerson spoke to someone from Forbes, and these are the details that came out. And I have a quote to talk to you guys about. "We want 2 full-time cars with 2 full-time drivers. If it were up to us, that's what we'll do. Sometimes these things decide themselves. We have not begun to negotiate that. There are several drivers we like. Ross Chastain is somebody that we've worked with forever, and Justin Haley, for those 2 guys, they should be in every conversation for openings in the garage." I'm honestly not surprised that those are the 2 drivers they are looking at. Both those drivers have ran at them in the past, and both of them work with Kaulig Motorsports. That could be a possibility, is that Spire could go and work with Kaulig Racing. That's a very big possibility, and I'm not surprised that those 2 drivers are being talked about of driving those cars. In my honest opinion, I think Spire is going to have at least 1 full-time driver driving that number 74 car. I think Justin Haley is for sure going to be driving for Spire full-time next year with a Chip Ganassi partnership. And then the other car, I think, like I said, is going to be a multi-car, basically, where we're going to see multiple drivers drive the car, like Reese Sorensen, Ross Chastain at times, maybe. I don't know. But I think we're going to see that 77 car be driven by multiple drivers. But honestly, I'm very interested to see the Spire Motorsports looking to become a more competitive organization. If they bring Justin Haley over, they're going to have better runs. And I think that they have a really bright future, especially because I think Spire Motorsports is looking at being a much more competitive team. And I would like to see Spire Motorsports become that competitive team that we've been waiting on. On to the next story. Chase Briscoe is going to be running a 2011 Tony Stewart throwback. In my honest opinion, I am a major fan of this paint scheme. This is, in fact, one of my favorite throwback paint schemes that have ever come out, basically because Tony Stewart is my favorite driver in NASCAR history. And, honestly, Chase Briscoe driving his car just brings back to those 2011 vibes that Tony Stewart gives me when he won the championship. And I'm a huge fan of this paint scheme. It is beautiful. On to the next story. For all you Ryan Vargas fans, he is actually going to be driving the number 15 car once again for JD Motorsports at Darlington International Speedway. Great to see not one of my friends, but someone he had huge support for, I think is very talented, Ryan Vargas. Great to see that he is going to be back driving the 15 car. I honestly think he should be racing full-time in Xfinity if we're going to be honest with ourselves. He had 2 very strong performances up to this point this year when he's ran for JD Motorsports. And I think that Ryan Vargas long-term is going to be someone that should be racing full-time next year. Hopefully JD Motorsports can get him in the 15 car full-time next year, because I think if Ryan Vargas would get in the car full-time, he would make the playoffs for sure. But honestly, Ryan Vargas, I think that he is going to have a top 15 performance. This is a very tough track. He's driving at Darlington. But man, I am just so happy to see Ryan Vargas back in the 15 car for JD Motorsports. On to the next 2 stories. We are actually going to be talking about the Dover ratings and the Indy 500 TV ratings. Let's start off with Saturday's race for the Cup Series. Race 1, which on Saturday, earned 1.1 rating and 1.8 million viewers, followed by Race 2, which earned 1.2 rating and 1.9 million viewers. Honestly, not surprised that Race 2 earned only a 1.2 rating since the Indianapolis 500 was going on at the time. Not bad for the viewership, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, especially since it was on NBC SN. And like I said, you had the Indy 500 going on, which you had a lot of people going back and forth on watching the Indy 500 and the Dover race, especially the NASCAR fans. But you had a lot of, like I said, a lot of fans on Sunday that were watching the Indianapolis 500. And I'm honestly not surprised that the ratings were as kind of low as they were. They're not bad TV ratings, if we're going to be honest. I thought they were going to be a little bit worse. But not too bad on the ratings if we're going to be honest with ourselves. Speaking of which, the Indy 500 TV ratings. These are kind of shocking and not as good as I thought they were going to be. NBC earned 2.3 rating and 3.737 million viewers for the Indianapolis 500. This is down like 1.5 million viewers, but this is not very comparable due to the fact the Indy 500 is usually on Memorial Day compared to this race, which took place in August. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that the ratings were not at least a little bit higher since, the Indy 500 is one of the biggest sporting events in the world. But let's be honest with ourselves. The race is in August. Unless you're like a hardcore IndyCar fan or like a big NASCAR fan or a fan of racing in general, most people did not even know that the Indy 500 was going on because, they moved this race all the way back to August from its original date. So honestly, I'm not 100% surprised that the Indy 500 didn't get as good of ratings, but it is a little bit disappointing. I think they did not do a very good job at promoting this race. They could have done a lot better at it. I mean, they did okay, but let's be honest, there was a lot going on that day. Had a lot of racing going on at the time. But I wish ratings were a little bit better, to be quite honest with you. But hey, it is what it is. Hopefully next year's Indy 500 can get a lot better ratings. I think it will get a lot better ratings next year because it will be probably back at a traditional date. And again, also, too, I thought it would be a little bit higher as well because you had no blackout this year. So you had possibly 300,000 to 400,000 fans going to that race. I mean, the Indianapolis area's ratings were like 24.4, so that was a lot of fans watching. But again, hopefully next year's Indy 500 ratings are up, and I think they will be up, especially since there's going to be no Formula 1 next year on the same day with Monaco going on. Yeah, honestly, hope Indy 500 ratings are a little bit higher next year than they were. On to the next story, and something very, very surprising. I thought this already had happened, but Steve Phelps finally was named to the board of directors. He joins Jim France, Lisa France-Kennedy, Mike Helton, and Gary Crotty. Honestly, I thought that he already had been added to the board of directors. I guess he wasn't. Anyway, this is very, very big. Here's what Jim France had to say about Steve Phelps joining the board of directors in NASCAR. Steve's unwavering leadership and dedication to growing our sport through even the most challenging times has been remarkable. Steve understands every part of our business and has demonstrated a consistently confident and steady presence in the face of adversity. He will be a valued and trusted addition to the board of directors as we work to build a stronger fan for our fans and our sport. Honestly, I'm very, very happy that he is finally part of the board of directors. I think Steve Phelps, while he has not been completely a perfect president of NASCAR, he is 1,000 times better than Jim France, and I trust Steve Phelps a lot more to lead this sport into the future than what Brian France did. I think the leadership of Jim France, Steve Phelps, I'm not going to say Steve O'Donnell because I don't really care for Steve O'Donnell, and like Mike Helton, I think those guys are going to lead the sport into a much better state. They've done a great job since the COVID-19 pandemic. I think NASCAR has been able to be part of the mainstream, and honestly, I think Steve Phelps is going to do a lot for the sport into the future. I mean, I'm just happy that he gets to finally be part of the board of directors and bring his collective mind to the sport. Steve Phelps is an awesome guy. We saw him on the podcast, and he was really initiative and talked about some things that they were working on. The guy has a lot of chips on his shoulders, and I think he's done a really good job at trying to lead the sport into the future. I am glad that Steve Phelps is becoming a part of the board of directors. Great news there. And finally, on to the last story. We got some more details on the next-gen car. Remember, they did test the car today and yesterday, but there was one quote that I wanted to talk about the plans for the next-gen car. Here's what John Props had to say about the details on the next-gen car. Right now, the most important part of the project is getting all of the OEM bodies approved by the end of September. That is a really big milestone for us, and we're on track to hit it. In terms of on-track testing, we still want to get a super speedway and we're looking at something at Daytona after the season ends. There's also significant enough interest we may look into doing this on the test. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that these details did come out, and what I'm getting reference from this and what I'm getting from this is honestly they're looking at testing the next-gen car probably a lot more next year. I'm not expecting them to do a lot more tests really until the end of the year. I think there's a lot of focus to trying to finish the 2020 season because a lot of drivers, they probably want to get out to do these tests. I think that they are waiting until next year or maybe later in this year because we have the playoffs coming up. I'm glad that they are doing these next-gen tests so sporadically. They're not doing next-gen tests like every single week, but I think that we're not going to see a lot of next-gen tests that are going to be taking place until a lot of them until next year if we're going to be honest with ourselves. But when they do these next-gen tests, especially on the super speedway tracks, they probably should be getting guys like Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, guys like that are similar to Joey Logano and like Chase Elliott, all those guys that are very, very talented and know how a car really, really works and what needs to be put in these cars. Or get some retired drivers like Jimmy Johnson or Dale Earnhardt Jr. to test these cars, or even Tony Stewart to go out and test the next-gen car because those guys have driven multiple generations of cars in the past. And no offense to Cole Custer, because I do like Cole Custer a lot. I think he is a respected driver in the garage. But he doesn't have the experience like guys like Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch have, or even Joey Logano has. I want to see those guys go test out the next-gen car in the future. But like I said, I think we're going to see a lot more tests for the next-gen car taking place next year. And a lot of those tests are probably going to be held back a little bit more, especially in 2020. And we're going to see a lot more tests next year. So anyway, those are the few NASCAR stories I wanted to talk about here. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe to the channel, turn notifications so you'll be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Link description below for that. And comment your thoughts on today's video. What do you think about Steve Phelps finally becoming the board of directors in NASCAR? Let me know in the comments below. And what do you think about those Indy 500 TV ratings? Do you think those ratings were good or not? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.